Karen arrived at the county zoning office at exactly 8:47 am, 13 minutes before they opened. She'd spent the previous evening preparing a comprehensive complaint packet, photographs of Mike's backyard, taken from her second-story window, printed screenshots of his social media posts about the pool party, and a detailed timeline of violations. "I need to file a zoning violation complaint," she announced to the receptionist, sliding her folder across the counter with the confidence of someone who'd done this before. The receptionist, a woman named Janet with kind eyes and infinite patience, opened the folder. "Ma'am, these photos show an empty backyard." "Exactly. Evidence of unauthorized removal of a recreational water facility without proper permits." Janet flipped through the pages, her expression growing more puzzled. "And this social media screenshot shows a child's birthday party with an unpermitted pool installation. Ma'am, can you show me where this pool was located?" Karen pointed triumphantly at a photo showing a perfectly ordinary patch of grass. "Right there. You can see the slight discoloration where the structure was placed without foundation permits." Janet squinted at the photo for a long moment. "Mrs. Weatherby, I think there might be some confusion about what requires zoning permits. Children's inflatable pools typically don't. Size is irrelevant." Karen's voice rose slightly, drawing glances from other people in the office. "Community standards must be upheld uniformly, or chaos ensues." An hour later, Karen sat in her car outside the zoning office, hands trembling slightly on the steering wheel. Janet had been polite but firm. No zoning violation existed. They'd recommended she work things out through her HOA's internal processes. Internal processes. Karen could work with that. By noon, she'd hand-delivered formal violation notices to every house on Maple Drive, not just Mike's. The Chens got cited for their garden gnomes, unapproved decorative installations. The Fletchers for their basketball hoop, recreational equipment without architectural review, and the Pattersons for their wind chimes, potential noise violations pending sound level testing. She saved Mike's notice for last, walking across his lawn with measured steps and placing it carefully between his storm door and front door. The notice was 3 pages long, typed in official-looking font, and demanded his appearance at an emergency HOA board meeting she'd scheduled for that very evening. As she walked back to her house, Karen felt a familiar rush of satisfaction. Order was being restored. Rules were being enforced. Property values were being protected. She didn't notice Mike's nephew watching from the living room window, or see him run to get his uncle. She didn't hear Mike's frustrated phone calls to other neighbors, or witness the impromptu gathering in Sarah Chen's backyard as the entire street compared their violation notices. By 6 p.m., Karen sat alone in the community center meeting room, her binder open to the agenda she'd prepared. The folding chairs arranged in neat rows remained empty. At 6:15, her phone buzzed with a text from David. "Honey, the neighbors are all in our front yard. They want to talk." Karen looked through the community center windows at the parking lot, then at her perfectly organized meeting materials. For the first time in 3 years, her HOA meeting would have no attendance, except for the sound of approaching cars in the parking lot and voices. Lots of voices, getting closer to the building. Karen straightened her shoulders and flipped to a fresh page in her binder. Whatever was coming, she'd be ready with documentation. 2 hours later, Karen sat in her home office, surrounded by towers of printed emails, highlighted HOA documents, and a fresh pot of coffee. The police visit hadn't gone exactly as planned, but it had planted a seed. Now she needed to water it. Her laptop screen glowed with the Willowbrook Community Facebook page, where she'd just posted a carefully worded message. "Neighbors, it has come to my attention that unauthorized pool installations and removals are occurring without proper oversight. For everyone's safety and property values, please remember to submit all recreational facility requests to the HOA board 48 hours in advance. Documentation available upon request. KB, HOA President." Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. "Karen, it was a kiddie pool," wrote Sarah Chen from 3 houses down. "Mind your own business," added Tom Fletcher. But then came the support. "Thank you, Karen. Property values are important. From elderly Mrs. Patterson, followed by rules are rules, from the Hendersons. Karen smiled. Division was exactly what she needed. Her phone rang. Weatherby Residence. Karen, this is Mike. We need to talk. Certainly. My office hours are Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. Would you like to schedule an appointment? Karen, come on. This is getting ridiculous. It was a $20 pool for my nephew's birthday party. I took it down because the party's over. Mike, I understand this seems trivial to you, but community standards aren't negotiable. The next board meeting is Thursday. You can present your case then. My case? For taking down my own pool. For the unauthorized installation and removal, yes. In the meantime, I'd recommend reviewing sections 4.7 through 4.9 of the community guidelines. I can email you a copy. She hung up before he could respond. By evening, the Facebook post had 37 comments and counting. Karen scrolled through them, mentally categorizing each neighbor as ally, enemy, or potential convert. The community was splitting beautifully, exactly as she'd planned. Her husband David walked into the office, loosening his tie. Honey, why are there police reports on the printer? I'm documenting everything for the HOA board. Pattern recognition is crucial for future enforcement. David picked up the papers, scanning them with tired eyes. Karen, these are noise complaints about the Johnson's dog, Mrs. Patterson's mail delivery disputes, and a kiddie pool? All community violations that establish precedent. Sweetheart, maybe you should take a step back. You've been really stressed about the HOA lately. Karen's jaw tightened. David never understood her commitment to community excellence. Someone has to maintain standards. Property values don't protect themselves. That night, as David snored beside her, Karen stared at the ceiling, her mind racing through enforcement strategies. Tomorrow, she'd implement Phase 2, a formal complaint to the county zoning office. Mike Reynolds had no idea what he'd started. Karen Weatherby pressed her face against her kitchen window, so hard that her reading glasses left marks on the glass. Through the Venetian blinds, she watched in absolute horror as her neighbor Mike Reynolds dragged his inflatable pool across his backyard toward the garage. No, 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 she whispered, her perfectly manicured nails clicking against the windowsill like tiny hammers. He can't just dismantle community property. Karen had been the self-appointed president of the Willowbrook HOA for 3 years running, not because anyone voted for her, but because she was the only one who showed up to meetings with color-coded binders and laminated rule sheets. She'd memorized every subsection of the community guidelines, and Section 4.7b clearly stated that all recreational water features required HOA approval for installation and removal. Her phone was already in her hand before she realized she'd grabbed it. The police non-emergency line was speed dial number 2, right after the HOA hotline. Willowbrook Police. This is Karen Weatherby, at 428 Maple Drive. I need to report a violation of community property laws and potential theft. Ma'am, what exactly was stolen? My neighbor is unlawfully removing a pool from his property without proper documentation. There was a pause. Is it his pool? Karen's eye twitched. That's irrelevant. All pool removals must be approved by the Homeowners Association 48 hours in advance. I have the paperwork right here. 20 minutes later, Officer Martinez pulled into Mike's driveway, followed immediately by Karen marching across the lawn in her pristine white sneakers, clutching a 3-ring binder like a shield. Officer, thank goodness you're here, Karen announced before anyone could speak. This man is in direct violation of Willowbrook HOA Regulation 4.7b, subsection 3, regarding the unauthorized removal of water recreational facilities. Mike looked up from coiling his garden hose, water still dripping from his swim trunks. Karen, it's a kiddie pool. From Walmart. I bought it yesterday. Size is irrelevant. Karen flipped through her binder with practiced efficiency. Any water feature exceeding 12 inches in depth requires. Ma'am, Officer Martinez interrupted gently. How deep was this pool? Mike held up his hands, measuring about 2 feet. It's for my 5-year-old nephew. Officer Martinez looked from Mike to Karen to the deflated pool slumped against the garage door. Mrs. Weatherby, I think there might be some confusion about what constitutes a legal issue here. Karen's face flushed red. Her 15 years of marriage to a lawyer hadn't been wasted. She knew exactly how to make mountains out of molehills. Officer, the law is the law. Community standards exist for a reason. If we allow one person to flout the rules, where does it end? Tomorrow, he could install a hot tub. Next week, a swimming pool complex. She could see doubt flickering across the officer's face. Good. Doubt was leverage.